Hey everybody, Mo Hashem here with Flat Fee Landlord Property Management, serving Northern Virginia, Washington, D.C., and Maryland. Today I want to discuss whether or not you should let your Northern Virginia, D.C., or Maryland lease go to a month-to-month lease, or whether you should sign a month-to-month lease to begin with. A lot of landlords that do this on their own have no problems with a month-to-month, and maybe if you're a brand new landlord, you may not see any issues with having a month-to-month. But there are some certain guidelines that you should probably follow as a landlord, which are going to help you down the line as a landlord if you want to keep continuing to either rent or eventually sell your property down the line. One thing I'd recommend as a landlord is to think about the times of years that we have throughout the year. And what I mean by that is the rental markets, the sales markets, the real estate markets in general during different times of the year. As we all know, real estate is different in each locality, and it's also different throughout the times of the year. There are better times of the year to list your property for sale or for rent than there are other times of the year. In my opinion, and based off of statistics and historical evidence, we find that early spring into early summer are generally the best times to have a property where you're marketing for rent or for sale. Historically speaking, that's because there's a lot more activity that time of year. A lot of people are looking for properties because school is out and they have the ability to do that. If they need to change school districts for their kids, they're able to do that during the summer as opposed to doing it in the middle of a school year, which nobody really likes. So that's a big reason why there's a lot more activity during that time of the year. Historically speaking, on the flip side of it and on the other side of the spectrum is late fall and winter are times of the year where there's really not that much activity in the real estate market, whether it's for sales or for rentals. And to bring it back to whether you should do a month-to-month lease, these are things that you need to consider and think about if you plan on putting your home back on the market when your existing tenant moves out. If you're on a month-to-month lease and your tenant gives you a notice that they're going to be vacating in 30 days in October or November, that means you're going to have to start finding a tenant in November, December, and January, where your options may be very small. And if they're going to be moving out in November or December, then that means you may run into an issue where your house is going to sit vacant for a while, or you may have to market it at a lower price just to bring in a tenant that is looking for a property and looking for a good deal. So those are some pitfalls of having your home or lease end during that time of the year. What I generally recommend to landlords is to have their lease on a cycle that ends all the time in early spring to early summer. This way, if the tenant does want to renew, great, you just do it again for another year. However, if they have to move, whether it's for relocation or they're upgrading to a bigger space, it allows you as a landlord to try to find a tenant and market that tenant during the height of the market. And that's going to allow you to ask for the highest possible rent you can during that year, and also probably have less vacancy because there is more activity and more people looking for a property. So basically it comes down to supply and demand. The demand is much higher in the spring, although the supply generally is also, but for the most part the demand outweighs the supply during the early spring, late summer time frame. So that's what I recommend in terms of whether or not you should have a month-to-month. I generally don't recommend month-to-months, but again, it could be a situation where you as a landlord may have to move back into the property given a 30-day notice. So in that case, it may make sense for you. But in instances where you don't have that issue, I generally recommend a full term lease that can be renewed with another full term lease at the end of that. If you got any questions about leasing, managing properties, or any questions at all regarding real estate, feel free to give us a call. Phone number is 703-261-9414, or visit our website, flatfeelandlord.com.